too. Hi, it's January the 22nd, 2021. Restrictions are still severe here in England and I'm unable to visit East Kirkby. All the engineers are back now servicing the Lancaster and hopefully getting it ready for the taxi season, which starts beginning of April. I've received some video from Brad, the youngest of the engineers, showing him servicing a number 2 Merlin engine. Also on it is Gerb doing a visual inspection of the undercarriage. So this is the video I received from Brad.
Hi Nev, some engine work here for you. So this is a CRM mechanism on A bank of number 2 engine on the Lanc. There's number 1 over there. What we do every year is take the cam covers off and just have a good visual inspection in here initially. Then we set and reset as necessary all the tappets, which is what these marks are. These have already been done on this engine. In fact, I have on all the engines. You check the general condition of the cams. You check all the bevel gears. You check the valve collets because they can crack. You also check the cylinder block holding down nuts. You see them better on this end here. Make sure, because they can crack as well, and then you lose the torque on the block, but they're all good. Give it a good clean. Obviously we've resprayed it with ACF 50 to stop any corrosion setting in while it's been sat, but it's all clean. You double check, make sure these pads aren't delaminating, which they can do, and none of them have so far. And when we pre-oil, there's a little hole in there that feeds oil to the pad, and that's where we check when we pre-oil the engine. Check that it feeds all of these all the way to the front, and then you're pre-oiled. So the rocker cover will stay loose until we pre-oil the engine just prior to running. Never a few things we check. Obviously the engine control. So this is a teleflex control for the CSU on the number 2 engine, constant speed unit for the propeller. You'll see this slider here. So what we do every year is clean it off and re-grease it, which has been carried out on that. The CSU is actually there, that green unit up there. All the time you're checking, making sure nothing's moved, make sure everything's still locked as it was when it went together. And if we follow that back, we've got the other end of it, which comes off this lay shaft here. There's four of these bearings. Make sure they're clean and oiled, ready for the year ahead. So there's 2 external, and there's one in that little box there, which is what connects to the actual controls from the cockpit. This is the automatic boost control system on the engine. We take this cap off. There's an anoid in there that gets serviced and oiled, and then there's a little cap here that comes off, and we service the relay piston in there. This shaft here, this lay shaft, cross shaft, is the main engine throttle control, which also controls, or is controlled by in certain circumstances, the ABC, the automatic boost control unit. And we grease that here, and then that, because it's hollow, and you put grease all the way along, and it'll grease all 3 of the bearings. So there's one there, and one across here, that one there. This here is the slow running cut-off mechanism for the fuel. And again down there, same thing as the teleflex, there's another slider that you clean and make sure it's re-greased, ready for the next year. Hi Nev, one of the jobs today is to clean down and inspect the propeller blade. So this is on number 2 engine again. You see all the dead flies and things on the back of the blades. So I'll take you now around to one of the blades I've cleaned. Around here. So once they're all clean, we'll give them a good visual inspection, looking for any defects. If there are any defects, there are repair methods and procedures as laid down in the manuals, but they look pretty good. Each blade takes about half an hour to fully clean and and the whole job will take about 2 hours to clean all the blades and then inspect them. In addition to that, this year, this is one of the airworthy propellers. We're going to take the domes off and have a good check around in there, make sure there's no corrosion in there, because what happens when you run the engine for the short periods we do is it warms up, but not enough to burn any of the condensation off that's held within the oil. And one of the places that'll sit, if you don't exercise the propellers, is in this dome and in the mechanism in here, which will make that go rusty. So what we're going to do is just whip off this dome, check all inside, good visual inspection, and then put it back together.
Sorry?
I'm rolling.
Hello, Ned.
What we're doing here, part of the inspection on the undercarriage, is the bracing tube, which I'll show you in a minute when I leap up. Probably no good in your eye. This bracing tube here, Nev, carries the fulcrum pins, which are these big pivot bolts here for each of the struts. So one leg hanging off each of these, so just making sure there's no loose rivets, taper pins rather, no cracks in the socket, no play, and all is well.
Next job for me, Nev, is to take these inlet manifolds out and clean the flame traps that are housed within them. One of my jobs today, Nev, is to clean up the flame traps from the number 2 engine. So I removed all this assembly yesterday. This is the inlet manifold trunking. So your supercharger is here, the fuel and air mixture travels up here in this trunk and is then fed to the cylinders by these ports, which run on the actual inlet manifold here, through here, and then into the cylinders through what are known as flame traps, which are these items here. And these sit in here, like that. Obviously they're flush when they're properly fitted. And so we need to, every couple of years we take these out and make sure they're still clean and free, because when they do come out, that's one I've just cleaned. This is one waiting to be cleaned, and you see it's pretty grotty, but you can still see through it, which is good. But they get covered in oil and carbon and all the rest of it. When we prime the engines, as a side note, we squirt fuel along these pipes here, which is then fed to atomizer jets on the inside here, and that sprays the fuel and it sits on the flame trap there, ready to be sucked in to give a bang to start the engine. So that's my job today.